So as I continue looking on towards the postseason, let's talk about the Mavs, the team that has fallen to 7th. I think a lot of that was off of Luka's injury. They're 31-17 with him, and they're 5-7 without him. But a couple interesting things, besides him being back, of course, is that Porzingis has turned it on a little bit. He just had his best month of the season in February, averaging about 25 a game, shooting a whole lot of threes, being efficient from everywhere. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been better. It seems like, lately at least, he is that third option that they need. He's averaging 18 a game in his last 15. A decent amount of those were without Luka, but even if you do like last 7 games, Hardaway's up to 22 points. He's shooting a whole lot of threes and making them. So that's nice right there, because for a minute I think we were all thinking that this team was basically just going to be Luka, KP, and everybody else averaging somewhere between 7-8 points and maybe 15 at the most. So that's nice. Seth Curry also has the ability to go off at any random game, and I think that's going to be an important theme for the Mavs in the postseason, is who among their other guys is going to take off. Because I think between Hardaway, Seth Curry, and even Jalen Brunson, you've got 3 dudes there who can give you maybe 15 points in a random game. I say Brunson just because he can dribble and shoot. I mean, you could argue DeLon Wright is better, or even Finney Smith is better, but those dudes' offensive games are a little more stationary than Brunson. I mean, he can beat somebody off the dribble occasionally and stuff like that, so yeah. I mean, if we look at a potential matchup against the Nuggets, who have a whole bunch of solid defenders and as a team defend pretty well, I feel like you're going to need a lot of guys who can do something. So let's say the Nuggets trap Luka, and then it ends up in the hands of Hardaway. If he can actually make something happen there, whether it's go off the dribble or just make a shot, or just make the split-second read to whoever's open, that's going to be a big thing for the Mavericks. And again, because of Brunson and Curry's just offensive skills, even if they don't do it every game, I feel like you got a nice thing going there. Of course, I can address the idea of Luka just averaging insane numbers in a playoff series. That's going to be a very interesting thing as well. I mean, is he ready to do that right now? I mean, at this point, I have no reason to think otherwise. The dude's confidence was insanely high the moment he showed up, and all of his veteran Mavs teammates were like, who the hell is this young dude? And so now that the team is all around him and they all encourage him to do that stuff, yeah, do I think he could be the best player against the Nuggets? Sure, I think he could be the best player against any playoff team. Now, of course, Jokic could outplay him in a series, and if Dallas gets to the 6th seed, they're a game behind there, then they'd be meeting the Clippers in round 1, and Kawhi could certainly do it as well, but the point is, you can never count out a team if they could have the best player in a series. And, if we speak on those Clippers, I mean, would Luka be able to manage against PG and Kawhi and Beverly and Marcus Morris and all that? I mean, that would be a hell of a test, but he's such a smart offensive player and he's such a good passer that I feel like the Clippers would still be giving up a lot of open shots to just everybody on this Mavs team. And I think that's when we can talk about KP as well. I mean, if we look at him against the Nuggets, he'd be probably matched up with Millsap most of the time. Millsap's a good defender. Yeah, there's a big height difference there, but I don't think Porzingis would have much of a chance posting up on Millsap. And then it's like, all right, well, you're going to hit a bunch of threes? Well, he could. But even then, like, I just assume Millsap will always do the right thing defensively. Now, I guess, could the Mavs experiment with playing KP at center? Potentially, but they don't really do it. I mean, KP has spent the majority of the season as the power forward, but he does have like one lineup at center where he's played over 100 minutes, and they have had some success with that lineup, so that could be something, but then you're also asking him to body up on Jokic, and that's difficult for basically everybody. So that'll be interesting. Now, against the Clippers, I think it'd be a little more possible. If we look at other potential playoff matchups, I mean, the Mavs could meet the Rockets in round 1 if they get to the 5th seed, and while I don't think they have the on-ball defenders to deal with Russ and Harden, I feel like their bigs could have a decent chance of staying on the floor against Houston. Porzingis maybe might not be able to move PJ Tucker or Covington out of the way on post-ups, but he would have such a height advantage that I feel like he might just be able to rain down jumpers on the Rockets all day. KP could definitely stick with those guys defensively if you put him at center, and I also think Maxi Kleber would have a shot as well. The other thing about a Rockets-Mavs round 1 series is that there would be so many three-pointers attempted that the series could become a little random, in the sense of one game, Tim Hardaway Jr. goes 5 for 7. Next game, Eric Gordon goes 6 for 9 from 3. Like, those could be the differences in close playoff series, you know? Now, speaking of those threes, I think one thing with Dallas is they can put out a lot of shooting, especially with Finney Smith being a better shooter this year. I mean, his 3 has struggled lately, but for the season, he's been pretty good. And that was a big question with his game. So, you know, you got him who can play the 3 or the 4. And then between KP, who's, you know, still one of the biggest matchup dudes in the league, even if he's not a superstar every game. And then, of course, Luka with his crazy threes, even if his actual percentage is not as high. And Kleber, who can space out. And then Hardaway and Curry and, you know, Brunson again. So it is going to be tough to defend this Dallas team, no matter who you are. I mean, you know, there are certainly good defensive teams that the Mavs would be facing in round 1. I mean, they're probably going to end up facing the Nuggets, Clippers, or Rockets, right? So all 3 of those teams can put on defensive performances. I mean, the Clippers can be the best defensive team in the league. The Nuggets are good, and the Rockets, to me, can keep getting better defensively because of just how much switchability and stuff they have. But again, I think the KP versus those guys thing, it would definitely be something to see. And we could end up seeing it if the Mavericks just jump up a game and a half into the 5th seed. So it should be cool. I mean, among those 3 teams, I would pick the Clippers to beat the Mavs, even if I'm still not in love with the Clippers as a whole. Denver and Houston, that's a little tougher. I think I'd have to see how I'm feeling going up to those series, but the Rockets are definitely pretty scary right now, I'll tell you that much. So that's it. And that's the Mavs and Luka and a whole bunch of shooting, and Carlisle's a good coach, and yeah.